Hello. We are getting ready to start our new session with the Soulful Love. We're talking about what you should talk about before you get engaged. So I'm going to bring in a Soulful Love and Anna, and we are going to talk about how to prepare for engagement, things that you need to talk about, which this is why I have a hard time finding this. So the thing is that no one talks about the pre-engagement part, right? A lot of times we talk about the engagement, we talk about dating, we talk about marriage, but we don't talk about the before you choose to get engaged. And that is a conversation that not many people have. So let me get Anna in. Let me get Anna in, and here we are. So let's add her in. Here we go. Okay. So, view request. I have, over the years, worked with couples that are at the seriously dating stage. And at that seriously dating stage, there's Anna. There she is.
Hello.
So I am just letting folks know about the fact that in general, we talk a lot about dating. We talk a lot about marriage, right?
Yes.
We talk, we talk about engagement, but we don't talk about that stage of should we get married.
Yes.
And I've had couples, I call it pre-engagement,
Hmm.
where couples come and they say, you know what, things are good and we're thinking about being serious, but we are not, hi Devin, we are not at a stage, we are not sure if we can fully transition. We're not ready, we're not sure. But we
Yeah.
like to work on a few things. And if we can work on these things, then yeah, I think this would work. Or it's we just need to figure out if some tools or to gain some certainty. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think I like the term pre-engagement, especially because it really is that it's sort of seeing like, do we have the foundation built to take that next step?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that requires certain things. But the first thing that I think about is it requiring core values, like
Mm-hmm.
core values alignment. And so, are you even aligned in terms of what you feel like you both are wanting out of life, what you're wanting out of partnership, and what that looks like? And so, being able to, because I think those are the conversations that sometimes get skipped in the dating phase because we're having fun, we're getting to know each other, it's
Mm-hmm.
the honeymoon time. And so uh, that's when things I think get really real and you have that crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
And having those kinds of conversations first then can help you avoid sort of the having the honeymoon period, getting to know you, not going into that deep, are we aligned in core values, and then skipping over that to engagement. And then now you're project managing for an event rather than making sure that what we're building will actually like sustain throughout even the test of time.
Yeah. Brittany just
Yeah.
checked in with us and watching. Thank you, Brittany, for joining us. You used the term project management because
Yes.
what you become an event planner.
Yes.
Right? Soon as engagement happens, you're an event planner. You're not a relationship, like you're not found building the foundation of your marriage. You are planning for an event, which
Yes.
is one of the most expensive events you will plan. So you don't even have
Yes.
time, and sometimes people toss in, you know, a premarital session with their pastor here and there,
Hmm.
or they'll do like one counseling session, but talk to Foundations for Forever for us to help the world understand what makes that different and how does that help with the core values instead of event planning.
Yes. So I think so with the Foundations for Forever in particular, it goes deeper because at least when I've spoken with couples who have shown up in my office at a crossroads,
Mm-hmm.
last ditch effort, to make their marriage work, if they have gone to counseling through church, oftentimes it's been maybe 3 sessions. And it was focused on sort of some of the spiritual aspects, and more scripture based. And so what Foundations for Forever adds is also the cultural context, like what was it like growing up in your family? Because each is different, even when you come from the same cultural background, like
Mm-hmm.
each household is different. So what was that like, and how does that impact how you show up, you know, in the relationship? How does that impact how you love, how you receive love? And so being able to dive deeper, because on the flip side, with us being therapists and working with couples for a decade now, we get a lot of couples in our office, like, or I know, like, I've seen couples who maybe have been together for 20 years, but they may know aspects of each other's family, but they haven't put together, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you do this because, like, maybe like you would draw emotionally because when you were a child, you weren't allowed to express those emotions outwardly, so you would go hide in your room to process them. Now you're doing this now, and I think that you're pulling away from me, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't know how to communicate. I just need, I need a moment
Yeah.
to regroup. And so being able to have that deeper understanding before you're entering into marriage then gives you, um, it also allows us to build off of that with giving you the skill set of how to navigate and come together, given those different, like, cultural contexts, given the different, just all the differences that come
Yeah.
with,
You know
yeah,
what I've found, like going back to the values, what I've found is people will say we have the same values,
yes,
but people don't recognize that we uphold and honor our values differently.
yes,
So if someone says, I value family, well, what does that
yes.
look like? And that's what I
What does
love
that
about,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah,
And where did that value come from?
yes,
And so in Foundations for Forever, we have a value portion and that explores that. That's actually one of my favorite parts because
yeah.
just a great example. I remember I had folks, they were a couple, they were talking about valuing time. Yeah, it was a place of contention for them a lot. And so
I
what we
see.
did is we broke down where, what does it mean to honor time? How are you doing that? What does it mean to dishonor time? And what does that look
Yes.
like? And come to find out, they value time in a different way. And their ways dishonored was the way that the
Oh,
other
I
person
see.
dishonored it.
Yes,
And so the
absolutely.
Foundations for Forever is something that can, like, has that values piece, like you said, it has the cultural piece, it has the I mean, it goes beyond, our cultural piece goes beyond like a family tree, but more
Yes.
of family habits, relational habits.
Yes.
And that's the
Exactly.
thing that we get caught up sometimes. We just think like, oh, you only do this.
Mm-hmm.
But once you see and hear their story,
It
then
makes
you it can
sense.
make sense. And
Yeah.
you can ask yourself, do I want to bring this habit
Right.
into this space?
Mm-hmm.
So we're creating sympathy and understanding, but we're
Yes.
also bringing awareness so you can say, do I want to bring this in the space? Although I want
Right.
grace from them, but do I even want to keep doing this?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think, yes. Honestly, that makes me think of two, yeah. Um, well, actually, it makes me think of two things. One, I think that's important, especially for the pre-engagement,
Hmm.
like, of what we were talking about, because that is a critical time to see, yeah, do I actually, can I envision this long term? Because I think that the sometimes the expectation is that the other person will change. That is
Mm-hmm.
not going to happen. Absolutely not. Like people grow, people shift, but like who you are at your core is often who you will be.
Mm-hmm.
And so like being able to see those things and really consider like if I were to stay in this long term and my children like our children were to take on these habits, you know, if we want children, like is that okay? Do I
Yeah.
want that? And
Yeah.
not to say that because you know one of the things we do in Foundations for Forever is helping couples co-create a new culture, a new way to be within their household. And so we absolutely believe in that, like the co-creating and the collaboration in terms
Mm-hmm.
of bringing what you want to into the relationship and leaving the other things out. But I think understanding what that is and if that is a realistic expectation too to be able to do happens in that pre-engagement phase.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the pre-engagement phase actually is the most vital,
Yeah, I think so.
because it's kind of like the no harm, no foul stage.
Yeah, it is.
In essence, like, I know we spent all this time together and we were getting to know each other, but I want to get to know you so much so that making sure it does fit, so that when we go into this new stage of life together, that we don't regret it. Because
Yes.
right now, regret is the biggest thing that folks come into marriage with, or
Hmm.
and it's also the biggest fear that like dating people fears,
Yes.
like I'm afraid that I'm going to regret choosing the
Hmm.
wrong person.
Yes.
So why not be very, very, very strict
Right.
here in this stage about it, and not strict in like, no, not you, no, not you, but
Hmm.
saying, I really care about this person, yet I need to understand them in such a way that I can be at peace, that I can spend forever with whatever
Yes.
quirks, whatever habits, whatever
Yes.
patterns they have.
Yes. My mama, my grandma on my mom's side,
Hmm.
whenever my aunties would ask her like how do you know if somebody's the right one? She would say if you realize that you can live with their idiosyncrasies.
Mm,
And I'm like, yes. And I think that the pre-engagement phase, I agree. I think it's the most critical because that is sort of the time where you get to choose not to avoid, because I think what happens is a lot of times these conversations are avoided in the
hmm.
beginning. They're avoided because you're having fun.
You're having
Like,
fun.
um and then now you're like experiencing all of those feelings of what people say, like falling in love and that kind of stuff. And so these things aren't being talked about at that point.
Hmm.
And so the pre-engagement stage is critical in that piece too, and not avoiding, because if you do avoid, then that's when you end up now exactly what we talked about, the project managing a wedding that you then have regret for as soon as you enter it because you had doubts from the beginning and
Hmm.
knew it wasn't right.
Yeah, I saw a video earlier today, and it was talking about how many men get caught up in it's the right thing to do, that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I found that when I'm working with men, maybe after divorce or kind of in that uh close to, a lot of them go to, we got pregnant and I want it
Mm-hmm.
to be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is that it is socially the right thing to do,
Right.
yet familial wise is
Mm-hmm.
not the right thing to do if you're doing it only solely for that. And that's why this
Right.
premarital, pre-engagement stage is
Mm-hmm.
so vital, because you can talk about it and be honest with each other, and you can
Yes.
get some of these fears out and say, hey,
Exactly.
like, I this is the right thing for us to do, but in the process, what type of foundation and relationship can we create
Yeah.
for it to be the right thing for us to do?
Because even too, Like on the flip side of all this, I've worked with couples in premarital counseling sessions who, because like they came into our first session with a lot of fears, like maybe I'm thinking of one couple where one partner had grown up seeing healthy relationships. So he had fears because he saw healthy relationships, but didn't really see conflict modeled. And so it looked like everything was always good. And so there was a fear of what if I can't replicate that?
Mm,
And then for the other partner, it was like that partner grew up and seeing dysfunction in families. And so with that partner, it was like I don't even know what a healthy relationship, let alone a healthy marriage, looks like. And so, you know, what if this doesn't work out? What if I mess it up? All those things.
yeah.
And so in our first couple of times working together, being able to one, which we do this in our program, looking at what you have learned from, you know, marriages around you, relationships around you, whether good, bad, indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as we talked through these things, like, and they were able to voice their fears with each other, they were able to hear things that they were surprised, like, I didn't know you felt that way. Well, I didn't know you felt this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there's like this relief. And so as we continue to building on onto that, like by the end of our sessions, they felt confident going into marriage. Like they're like, no, we feel prepared. We feel like we have the skills that we need to
Mm-hmm.
navigate it, and we actually feel confident. Like those fears that we felt have actually gone away
Yeah.
because we've been able to talk about it.
I think that's, and I want to say hi to everybody who's joining us. And please, if you have questions, thoughts, ideas, share them with us. Even if you're not joining us on the live, but on the after the live. But yeah, so I want to go back and that is the thing is that in the premarital part, I mean pre-engagement, you have, especially if we do the foundation, you could do the foundation for forever. I think it would be better one-on-one to
Mm.
navigate that at that stage, but to explore with someone who is skilled and say, I have these worries, let's figure it out. But I
Yeah.
do care about you. I still have these worries. And I think if more people were honest about the worry rather than saying, well, no, if you don't know, then you're
Mm-hmm.
not ready, then you don't want
Right.
this, right? Like it's a rush. And I think this is
Mm-hmm.
actually one of the most important decisions of your life that
Mm-hmm.
you should mutually not rush into.
No.
You
And
should
there's no shame
mutually
in
be
feeling
intentional.
scared. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, you
And so I
should
think that
mutually be
that's the
intentional.
part.
Yeah.
So when we talk about pre-engagement, that stage, like what do you think is like a good time for folks to be having these deep cultural communication and conflict habits? Even we even go over the finances
Mm.
part. We'll talk
Oh,
about that in a
yeah.
second. But what is that pre-engagement stage in your opinion?
Mm. I would say when you have been dating long and or when you have been dating and you both have been in a space where marriage has become a topic of conversation, that you're both interested in.
Hmm.
Keyword
Hmm.
both being interested in. And so I think when I would say that, I would also say when you find yourselves starting to future plan together, um, that would be another time when I think, okay, you're now entering that pre-engagement stage. Like you're starting to look at your futures together,
Hmm.
in a collaborative way. Or yeah, the topic of marriage is starting to come up.
Yeah, I agree. I think and so there's no timeline, right? Like there's no
Yeah,
like we can't put a stamp on it.
right.
But when you
Yeah,
are like, yes, beyond the you want to get married, yes, I want to be a husband and wife one day. It's like, oh, we want to marry each other.
right. Yes,
Do when you start getting into that mindset, like, oh, I
yes,
think this person might be the person that I want to marry, and then you
yes.
start talking about it. and you both are in agreement, and now you're like sending pictures of rings or sending ideas or talking about ideas of how you want your engagement.
Yes.
This is the time to really come into, not to burst bubbles, but to
Mm-hmm.
actually make all of that worth it.
Yes.
Because the average
Absolutely.
wedding, I mean, even this is lowballing. The average wedding is like $30,000, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's lowballing it,
Yeah.
because it's actually more extravagant, and we're in a social media stage
Mm-hmm.
now, so everything, even engagements
Mm-hmm.
are very expensive,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. So why
They
not
cost more than a down
agree?
payment.
Yes,
Yeah.
why not
Come
say, if
on.
we're if we're gonna do this, why not just speak with someone to get to
Yeah.
explore, not to point out problems, but to prepare us for
Yes.
forever, to prepare and make
Right.
sure that we are both navigating. So talk on
Mm-hmm.
the finances. I know that's your favorite
Yeah.
part, like finances and roles and expectations.
Yes.
What
I
type of
mean,
conversations should they be having at the pre-engagement stage?
I think one is how were finances dealt with in your household? Because as much as we don't like to admit it at our big ages, like pretty much everything of why we do what we do starts with our household when we were
Mm-hmm.
younger, when we were a child. And so how are finances talked about, were they talked about openly?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even too, like what does money even mean to you? And so like for one person, they might say, I really don't need much money. Like as long as I have a roof over my head, like I feel good with that. And that's completely fine. And yet, if that person is partnered with somebody who's like, mm-mm, like I'm trying to be a millionaire in the next 5 years, a
Mm-hmm.
multi-millionaire in the next 10, like, that's not enough. I mean, you're going to bump heads. And so being able to talk about it and find, again, like a collaborative approach. But I would say first and foremost, thinking about what did I learn about how to navigate finances from watching, my family, and also how do I navigate finances? How do you like what do I care about spending my money on? What do you care about spending your money on? If it's very different, that's not that doesn't mean that you have to end the relationship, but it does mean that you have to consider what it would look like then to come together in
Yeah.
that. So,
This is where the values come in again at, and I think this goes beyond the 50-50 conversation, right?
yes, it does.
It goes beyond that, and it goes to what we use in Foundation for Forever, our mission
Mm-hmm.
and our goals, right? Not just those financial, I mean those like buying a house and putting in money.
Mm-hmm.
It's the goals are, how do we navigate
Yes.
conflict, and money is the biggest source of conflict. And it's
Yes.
even when you have money, even when
Yes.
couples have money,
Mm-hmm.
it's the finances now is, how do we, whose role is
Mm-hmm.
to navigate the money, who's going to spend the money, who's going
Yeah.
to not spend the money, how are
Mm-hmm.
we, right? Like those type of
Who's making the
conversations.
money?
Who's
Yeah.
making the money, who's spending the money,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we agree on what to spend on, or right,
Yeah.
like those type of conversations. And again, it goes beyond the 50-50 and who's putting in the pot,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the roles around, the
Right.
habits around, the self-awareness around it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so also kind of talk about the like how couples, in your experience, how couples in the pre-engagement stage would kind of have a conversation around finances.
Yeah. So I think in the pre-engagement stage, I think this is important because I will say I have worked with couples who have been in the pre-engagement stage and we're living together, had completely separate finances, never
Mm-hmm.
talked about it.
Mm,
Um, right. And so I think that uh honestly, first and foremost, starting the conversation, because again, going back to that piece around avoidance. I found that for a lot of times with couples, when they get to the pre-engagement stage, there are certain conversations that bring up discomfort
Mm-hmm.
that they have made a habit of avoiding. And finances is one of the big ones. And it's one of the easiest ones because you can live under the same roof and completely separate finances. But then what I've noticed is that when I'm working with those couples and they get engaged, there is this expectation, this mindset of now we need to merge them. And so it's literally going from 0 to 100 instead of being able to talk about things you've been uncomfortable of, like, we both went to grad school. How much school debt do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to have those difficult conversations without judgment or shaming. But again, you're starting to cultivate that team mindset of, okay, what does this look like for us to try and navigate together? And finding what works. I know for some of the couples I work with, it's okay, some things we do keep separate because of how we like to spend, but we have, a pot that we pour into and we figure out what that is. And like you said, it's not about like the 50-50, but we collectively figure out how we want to navigate that. But I think the biggest thing is whenever there is that feeling of avoidance, leaning in to the
Mm-hmm.
discomfort to
Yeah.
have the conversation.
Yeah. I tell my folks, like, the thing that you're trying to avoid, I tell myself this too. So I'm, folks, I tell myself this too. The thing that you are avoiding means that you're scared of it. You
Yeah.
got to do it scared.
Yes, do it scared.
You have to do it scared because it's letting you know that's an area of growth for you. Like
Mm-hmm.
you intentionally trying to avoid it means that you are scared of it and you don't have the capacity to navigate what comes with that. And so you
Yeah.
have to do it scared, and whatever comes with that, you have to focus on that because again, going to continue to talk about finances, but like living together, there's been
Mm-hmm.
a lot of research that has shown that couples who live together are less likely to have a long lasting marriage because sometimes they just, well, we might as well,
Right.
right? And so, but they think we might as well because we have been sharing finances, or
Right.
right. But come to find out, once they get married, they weren't sharing all of that information. And
Mm-mm.
so once they get married, all of that information comes up. And so
Mm-hmm.
now they have to navigate those complications
Mm-hmm.
before, as if, I mean, they could have handled it before, but now they haven't, and now they're having a rocky start. Whereas
Right.
couples who wait to move in, they actually have a tendency to be more intentional. So
Yeah.
they are talking about, well, how are we going to navigate
Mm-hmm.
our homes? How are we, going to navigate, bring in our finances? So they tend to have those financial conversations a little bit more than folks who
Yes.
already moved in with each other, and kind of just said, well, we might as well since we
Mm-hmm.
are.
Yes. And two, typically what happens in those situations is for the couples I've worked with who maybe moved in earlier in their relationship, one of them was like, hey, we've been together for a minute, my lease is coming up,
Mm,
so why don't we, you know and so, which, if you're going to choose to do it, it's fine, but you need more of a conversation than my lease,
my lease
why
is
don't
up.
we, yeah. And so I think you have to have the conversation of, okay, what are our expectations like around even cleanliness,
Hmm.
chores, like what does that look like? It's going to be different. And so if you can move with that level of intentionality at that stage and move in, then, like then when you get to the pre-engagement stage, it's not going to be so dire. When you get to the marriage stage, like you will actually be prepared. But I think that is a big part of what happens is you fall into that, and then now you've fallen into these habits where it feels like you are already married. So, like you said, might as well. And so that might as well continues until the sharp reality of like, wait, we've never actually done any intentional work to join our lives together, to consider what this looks like, what we look like as a collective.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that there's a stage, the, well, my lease is up. I think that's usually the that's
That
usually
is,
the thing that, well, my
yeah.
lease is up. What do you think about us moving in? Blah blah blah, all of that. But the thing that I think about the most, and a lot of this is, sometimes it's where you live life in theory until it happens, right? And
Yeah.
so if you haven't lived with someone, and so a lot of this is theory, like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I like the house to be clean, or I prefer to come in every day after work, just throw things, and then on Saturday and Sunday clean everything up, right?
Right.
Like, or I remember, because my husband and I, we didn't move in together until we got married, and I am a person who does projects, and I will leave projects, and then if I need to leave them out to remind me to finish
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And he is clean up as you go, don't leave a mess. And that was rough our first, like, because I had did this really big project and I had left something in the garage. It was a big mess. And he was like, hey, I don't like that. But I would have known that because we
Yeah.
didn't have a conversation. That's not a habit that you really pick
Right.
up on. Uh, my sister-in-law says
Oh.
me and my brother are the same. I think we are.
That's hilarious.
Um, but but yeah, so the thing is that we didn't have that conversation because you don't know that that's a thing. But going back to the cleanliness, in a general sense, we all have cleanliness habits.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't recognize them until you're sharing a space with someone.
Yes.
But another thing that we don't fully cover in Foundations Forever, but we cover in the roles and responsibilities, is parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is something that folks should talk about sooner
Yes.
than later.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
understanding, what do you believe your role is as a parent,
Yes.
as a mom, as a dad,
Mm-hmm.
as a whatever title you want. What do you think the family role is? What do
Yes.
you think about
Extended fam.
childhood, like
Yeah.
child care?
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those things. Because even for me, we're doing homeschooling, and never in
Mm-hmm.
my life would I've ever imagined myself to be a homeschool mom. But my husband
Yeah.
came to me and he presented it, and it made sense to me based on the presentation. But
Yeah.
again, we had to build our foundation in order for us to
Yes.
have that conversation. Because when I tell you I was against it
Yes.
for a bit, because I was like, I don't see that for myself.
Yes.
But what we did was we leaned on our values. And
Right.
so that's why I love Foundations and Forever,
Yes.
because you have your values and your
Mm-hmm.
roles that
Yes.
help during complicated situations.
And also your greater purpose as a couple too,
Hmm.
which I imagine you both leaned on in that as well, which is what we help, like once we built all this, up, some of our final stages in our work for Foundations for Forever is helping couples understand that too, creating that mission and vision for themselves.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's your mission and vision that's
Mm-hmm.
going to help you through, because life is hard. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to help you build, like, that's the foundation piece, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
building all the tools through these 10 steps and 10 steps to a lasting love, and the final one is our mission, right? As a
Mm-hmm.
couple, how are we going to navigate this? What's our pillar? Like, what is going to
Exactly.
keep us driven every time when something's complicated? We have to look at this thing.
Right. And to be honest, it's like anything else in life, but I think that because, hmm, I think because we rely more on our emotional world when it
Mm,
comes to relationships, uh, the things that make us successful in other areas of life we sometimes forget or neglect. But the reality is that those are some of the similar things that we bring into Foundations for Forever so that you can have that reminder because like as they say, life be life and like ebbs and flows. You
mm-hmm.
do not know, and so like um being able to, I like how you said have that pillar. that you're looking to is so necessary, and having these skills and these tools to navigate all of the ebbs and flows and the uncertainties is so necessary too, because it, like, I think for a while I didn't understand that whole saying of like love isn't enough. I was like, what does that mean? Like, I just couldn't. I was like, I don't understand what people are trying to communicate when they say that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that it clicked, as we were building our program, of like, yeah, that feeling of, um, you know, infatuation, or that feeling, all of the feelings associated with being in love, being in a relationship, those are not enough to sustain you without the skill set that you would need to use in any other area of your
Right.
life to be successful.
Right. And the thing is that those acts our love, right? Like the act of trying to understand your partner in a moment of conflict rather
Right.
than just focusing on how you feel, but to say, I feel angry and frustrated, I feel misunderstood, yet I want a solution and I want
Right.
to not put it aside, but I want to focus more on how we can figure this out rather than,
Yes.
you know, trying to argue or whatever. That's an
Mm-hmm.
act of love.
Oh, 100%. Or like listening actively, um, to understand.
Yeah.
Definitely an act of love. Yeah.
Yeah, the having the conversation
Mm.
of, hey, our finances, we need to
Mm-hmm.
know where these are going. How can we do this as a team? What does it look like? What is our end
Yes.
goal? That's an act of love.
Yes.
To work past
Yes.
your fear or your embarrassment or your shame or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, to go past that, to say, I value our relationship so much that we need to have this conversation.
Yes.
That is an act of love. And so the
Yes.
feeling of love or the feeling of bonded, I'm
Mm-hmm.
bonded to you, you need actions to go with that.
Yes. Intentional actions.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I think that's the thing where folks forget. And so when they
Mm-hmm.
say I fell out of love, it's because they no longer want to do the
Mm-hmm.
work of love.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so to help couples, I mean, that's what I love about Founders Forever, because we help couples understand that the love part is the action part.
Yes.
And here are the things we talked about. If we
Mm-hmm.
need to go back and change some things and review,
Mm-hmm.
we at least have the skill set to navigate
Yes.
uncomfortable conversations, to
Mm-hmm.
revise this along the way.
Yes. And that's why too, when you work with us one on one, you get that workbook. So it's not just the conversations, but you're getting assignments to take home with you to work through
Hmm.
together, so that you can go back and revisit them. And like you said, like if there are times when you're like, we we were in theory, thinking about this in theory before. Now that we're in practice, let's go back
Hmm.
and let's adjust, but
Yeah.
I think our passion comes from seeing so many couples who didn't do this. And I'm like, when for the couples who would come to me and say, you are our last hope, it's hard, especially if you are unraveling 20 years of hurt and pain, even five,
Yeah.
honestly, like, it's that work is far more difficult than doing the, like, front end preparation, and then
Hmm.
the consistent care, that you are able to do as a result of that front end preparation. So, yeah.
Hi, Delaney. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I think that we have to, and this is a societal thing, right? Like
Yeah.
we are in an instant gratification world. And
Yes.
so the hard thing, we want to kind of delay the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is one of those things that you should not delay the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you want to do the harder stuff in the beginning. So then,
Yes.
along when life naturally is hard,
Mm-hmm.
then you have the
Yeah.
ability to navigate that and work through, like, oh, okay, like
Uh-huh.
we have the conflict abilities, we know we
Right.
have the skills, so we can manage this hard thing together.
Yes.
It won't be easy,
Mm-hmm.
but we have the ability, the skill set, and the
Yes.
knowledge. And like you said, if you do the one-on-ones with us, you get the workbook. It's
Right.
literally like a manual in essence. Like
Literally.
it is a manual on how to navigate marriage, because all of the years of work that we've put into this, working with
Yes.
couples. I've been married for 9 years now,
Yeah.
and all the things that I've learned just being married and
Yeah.
learning from other married folks, right? Like this workbook speaks
Yes.
to that. And I think, like, even just Foundation for Forever and the 10 steps, like, of lasting love, I think this is a beautiful manual on
Yes.
how to navigate the challenges of marriage.
Yes. And I honestly I view it as our love letter to couples because I
Hmm.
think too, just with all of the clinical work, when I tell you, I was like, if I am your last stitch effort one more time, like that kind of work, because, you know, it's I think the hard thing about that work is it's more often than not too late. So
Hmm.
at that point, like what we're talking about is more so it usually ends up being how can you amicably separate?
Hmm.
Like is, like and occasionally, it can be getting to a point, but that is like the everybody the
Yeah,
work is
everybody's
pretty
got to dig in,
much.
but they're so
Yes.
exhausted. And I always feel so sad
Yeah.
because in general, folks come to you and they're like, hey, like, I'm tired of this hurt.
Right.
Please help us through this hurt. But come to find out that all of the foundation was one rocky, cracky, or
Mm-hmm.
even just
From the
non-existent.
beginning.
Yeah. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think, like you said, our love letter is two couples that we look like, that we see
Mm-hmm.
ourselves in. We want them to be prepared beforehand so that they don't
Yeah.
have, like you said, so they don't have to come to us at the last ditch effort, but
Mm-hmm.
come to us during the journey of, like, hey, we
Yes.
were working on this, but somehow we're stuck.
Right. We just need a little help getting
We just need a little
just
budge, right?
realigning.
Like, we
Yes.
need some jumper cables.
Right. Yes. No, 100%. And I think honestly I think that is where our passion comes from. And to seeing I've also had those couples where yes,
Yes,
beginning with
beginning
the
with
end
the end in
actually, okay,
mind.
I'm going to talk about
Oh,
that for a
that's a
minute.
beautiful one.
Beginning with the end in mind, because I do think, like to your point, we are sort of we're trying to create a new movement
Hmm.
where like we think beyond that instant gratification and going back to that, like being able to see the bigger picture,
Hmm.
and being willing to intentionally put in the work that will then get us to that bigger picture. And so it means like, okay, and investing in this part of your marriage, which are like investing in this part of your marriage is actually very minimal in comparison to a videographer,
Yes.
the location,
The location, the
the
cake,
caterer,
the caterer.
the ring. Okay, it's and so it is a small thing that will literally allow your wedding to turn from an event to an actual marriage that
Hmm.
lasts a lifetime. When you, to quote our sister Lane in the chat, begin with the end in mind and really push past sort of the limiting and surface level and short-sightedness
Mm,
nature of what we are fed in today's climate,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. And going back, holding that is just, we want the marriage, we want to be the wife, we want to be the husband, we want the family, we want that so bad that we rush that process.
Yeah.
And the thing is the more you rush it, then you are going to shorten or weaken the foundation,
Hmm.
because you've rushed that part and you made
Right.
that the end goal. And that's not even the beginning, the middle, the end. The beginning is
Yes.
saying, I think I want to do this with you.
Right. With you.
Yes,
So
with
going back
you,
to I think I
let's
want to do
figure this
this.
out.
Yes.
That's the beginning.
Absolutely.
And the end would be that beautiful mission, the relationship
Right.
goals that you painted, that you ideally want. And the end is
Hmm.
not
The
divorce.
day. Oh, right. And divorce. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like the end is not that. The end is we what did we paint?
Hmm.
Right? What is that beautiful picture we painted? And so
Yeah.
we want to focus on that part. And in order to do that, like you said, like you have to be intentional. You have to
Hmm.
invest in the beginning part
Right.
rather than start putting money in the it's about to collapse part.
Right. Hoping that that saves something that is already collapsing.
Right. And folks,
Yeah.
listen, we have worked with couples where they are at a state, they can
Yes.
work it out,
Yes.
but you don't want to get to that point
No, it is
at
so much
all.
harder. Like the level, the work, because at that point, when I think about the couples I've worked with who are at that point, I've done great work with some couples who have come at that, who were able to save their marriage. But e- even in that language, like there's something very different when you are desperately trying to save something
Mm-hmm.
versus when you're preparing for something. And so for those couples, like what happened was it required a lot of time. Like the avoiding the conversations around finances would be nothing to them after having to do this because
Mm-hmm.
now we're digging up conversations that have been avoided where now like there's like harm involved, just
Mm-hmm.
resentment built up,
Mm-hmm.
contempt for each other, like
Mm-hmm.
not even liking each other. So now we're starting not even at ground zero, we're starting below because now we have to unpack and unpeel some of these things so that y'all could just be in the same room and your
Mm.
breathing doesn't annoy this person.
Mm.
And then maybe we could start to talk about conflict. And then maybe we could start talking about communication. But it's like a painful process that, again, like some couples are able to go through and they're able to save their marriage and have a beautiful thing. But the reason why they're able to have a beautiful thing after is they have to start from below ground zero. And then they get to the point where they start building from where we are starting which is that strong, they have to build a completely new foundation.
Yeah.
And so if you could be able to, it's sort of like, I remember, I didn't know that this was possible, but I remember I had a friend whose parents realized their house was on sinking sand. Yeah,
Mm.
I didn't even know that was a real thing. But yeah, and so they had to they well, I mean it was either I really don't know what their options were. They sold the house, because
Mm.
they're like, we got to get out because it wasn't sustainable. And so it's something similar. Like if you wait, it's going to be far more expensive than to try to pick up a house and, you know, find some new foundation and then,
Mm-hmm.
set it down and try to like make sure that is way more expensive than starting off with something already that is strong because you're willing to do the hard things and to um, not avoid the things in the beginning.
Yeah. And my husband uses, I mean, it's not anything special, but we talk about sustainable, right? Like you always
Yeah,
have to ask yourself, is this action, is this care, is this sustainable? And am I doing this to sustain? Can I do this to sustain? Like, are my
yeah.
actions able to, like, to sustain the health of the marriage, of the
Hmm.
relationship? And I think that's something that we have to think about when it comes to return on investment, right? Like you
Yeah,
are investing in your livelihood, in your future. And so, why not be intentional about it at this stage? So then the
right.
sustainability actually is longer.
Exactly.
You have the ability to do that. Going back to that home was not sustainable,
Mm-mm.
and so now you have to start all over. And that goes back to folks who just jump right into it or they avoid these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as time passed, it is painful to see folks come in that once said
Mm-hmm.
they loved each other, and then
Right.
another moment now say, I can't stand this person. I don't feel safe
Right.
around them. I like all of that. And it's just like, wow, how did we get here? Now we have to unpack all of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
heal it, bury it,
Right.
and not bury
Right.
it on top of the foundation because we want
Uh-uh.
that to, we need to find
Right.
new land.
Yes.
And you have to have the desire to
Yeah.
say, despite all of this, I still want to do it with you. And that is
Right.
rare to find.
It is. It's rare to find, and again, the amount of work that it requires, that is the thing to avoid, honestly.
Hmm.
If we're gonna avoid anything, and I think that's our goal too with Foundations for Forever, is we want you to avoid that pain
Hmm.
because, and you can avoid that pain by having these difficult conversations, by leaning in with the intentionality
Hmm.
early on. And I think too, because I think you know, if there is a fear that having these conversations would put your relationship in jeopardy, then that's also a consideration for you to
Hmm.
say if you can't handle the conversations here, and now one, it's is it a fear, that you're projecting that really you can have the conversations, it's just a fear. So
Hmm.
that could be the case. So, being honest with yourself around that. Or is it a fear because you know that your relationship can't withstand those
Hmm.
conversations? But you're scared of being alone or not being with this person, that sort of thing. Because if that's the case, that it would be as painful as it would be better to have the conversations and have that confirmed and find someone who is aligned with you to build a future with than to skip over all these things because it's okay. We'll have the wedding and it's going to be great. Oh, it's
Hmm.
okay. We'll have a baby and that'll make it better.
Hmm.
Like now, 10 years down the line, and it's just regret, um, pushing through the discomfort, having the conversations at this stage, much better than the
Yeah.
alternative.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Doing it scared now,
Yeah,
so you won't do it with close to hatred in your heart later.
right.
Because, and again, people, we see this part.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen when couples have hatred in their heart
Yes.
for their partner, and all it is the fact that they regret making this decision because
Mm-hmm.
they were not certain. They
Right.
regret violating any boundaries. They regret
Mm-hmm.
all of that. They regret the decision that they made because all of this stuff wasn't handled beforehand. And
Right.
granted, I mean, before we end this, but granted, this is not the save all, be
Mm-hmm.
all to marriage. But what it does is it prepares
Yes.
intensely better than, in my opinion, better than any other premarital program that
Yes.
exists. So much so that people who are in the pre engagement
Mm-hmm.
should do this.
Right. Or even, I would say pre-engagement, or if you did just get married and you're like,
Hmm.
oop, we skipped over that.
We
It's
skipped
not
that
too
part.
late.
Oh, let's circle back.
Yes, you can circle back. You can circle back real quick. And we will get you all the way right because I think that's the main thing is like we care. Like I grew up, I have always loved love,
Hmm.
and I grew up around only dysfunction around
Hmm.
love as well. And so being able to help couples learn learn the skills to both maintain and sustain their love
Hmm.
is something that brings me joy. And I
Hmm.
would much rather do that than what we talked about earlier, the alternative piece of trying to move from hate back to love.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that that's what draws us together because we both mutually love love. Like,
Yeah.
I love when people are just in a relationship and they feel good and they feel
Yes.
connected and they feel like they belong and just the world is just a better place. Like, I want that for everyone. right. And I mean, it doesn't have to be marriage, but I
Mm,
like a bond so strong that everyone feels good inside, right? Like that's where you and I like connect a lot, is
yeah.
that that's why we chose couples, right? Like
Yes.
we chose it because we love to see people in work really hard for someone they care about, right? Willing to
Right.
do the work. And that's why Foundation for Forever is our love letter to love,
Mm-hmm.
is to
Yes.
us wanting to make sure that when you're choosing, this is the path that will prepare you for that to be long standing. Because I've I've worked with clients before divorce,
Mm-hmm.
in divorce, and
Yeah.
after divorce. And all of those stages are painful.
Yes.
They are
Yeah.
painful to watch. They are painful for the other person on the other end experiencing them. It's
Mm-hmm.
painful for the people who are impacted by it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
painful journey. And the last thing for me, when I say I love love, the last thing I would want is for someone to experience those things. It's a really sad experience for
Yeah.
everyone involved.
Absolutely.
And so this is our love letter to the world to say, hey, like,
There's
we
another
are being
way.
proactive
Yes.
in this divorce thing. We don't, right? We want you, this is
Yes.
how you become, you avoid that.
Right.
Being proactive, invest in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Delaney said, beginning with the end in mind. And in this
Yeah.
end is the relationship goal of lasting forever, lasting for a long time, right?
Yeah. I am curious to know if there are any questions from anybody
Yeah, sorry,
watching.
folks. I don't know, but Delaney has been very helpful, and I love the commentary.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
before we end, is there something else you'd like to share about Foundations for Forever?
Mm, I think the biggest thing would be, I'll say this. I think that what we do um, is I have two competing thoughts, but our work helps you be more honest with yourself, but
Mm,
that's not a scary thing. I think that currently, right now, like there's so many things that we have to keep us dishonest with ourselves, that, we can be afraid of that level
mhm,
of honesty, but it's actually something that really makes you stronger. It makes your relationship stronger. And so
mhm,
being able to have these honest conversations, whether you're choosing to do them facilitated one on one by one of us, or you're choosing to do it through our digital pathway, our e-course version of it. Um, it truly is worth it. I'm like, take it from two marriage therapists who have had 10 years of experience, seeing both sides and in the middle,
yes.
um, that it truly is worth it to face any fears, get honest, and have those conversations that we provide in our program.
Yeah, we're moving it from your fear to facing forever, right? Like
Yes.
you're not scared. You're going to be more empowered. You're going to have confidence, clarity,
Mm-hmm.
and understand connection. Not just because I'm big on this. It's not just connection with your partner, but connection with yourself so that you can
Mm-hmm.
show up honestly.
Yes.
And honestly, and the more honest you're with yourself, then you can be honest in the relationship and both of you, because this is mutual. And I think you and I both believe in a collective
Mm-hmm. Way
way
of
of
being.
doing
Yeah.
relationship, right? Like, and this is what this is about. It's not even just a team, it's like collective. Like, we are
Yeah.
parts of a whole.
Exactly.
And so we all have an important part in this. And so we all need to be together in this, and that what I do impacts you and what you do
Mm-hmm.
impacts me. Like that collective idea and mindset is what we push for in this
Yeah.
journey. So Well, I want to say thank you, and I want to let folks know that we have a live coming up on the 12th as well, and we'll send out more details. But thanks to everybody out there, and also go to Anastasia's other website or Instagram page, which is healingworks.co, right?
Yes.
Okay, so go to Healing Works, and I'm going to tag it under the thing, but go to her page as well. She works in wellness and burnout, executive burnout. And
Hmm.
so we want to let folks understand like all dynamics of how we work with people.
Yes.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
also, if you're not following us, Soulful Love, you need to follow Soulful Love, especially get more
Yes.
information about the programs that we offer, our workbook. And if
Hmm.
you are a therapist, we have a training program coming next year. So also if you want to learn more information about that. So thanks to everybody. Thank you,
Thank you.
Anna.
Yes, thank you.
All right, folks, have a good night.
Bye.